I went out with my Lumix GX80 at the weekend. I haven't been out with this camera for a little while, and the reason I took it was because of the articulating screen in bright sunlight and lots of reflections. This is definitely an advantage and makes things a lot easier to be able to see what it is that you're shooting. So I took this out at the weekend, and yeah, I went to a local woodland and decided I was going to go and capture some trees and whatnot. I've had a few outings in the past with some wider angled lenses, let's say, in the woodlands, and I really like the results there. This is a more traditional kind of size focal length, and I found this a little bit more tricky. If I'm honest, most of the photos I was taking just seemed to be noise and chaos, you know, just like trees. And I know I was in the woods, come on Tim, what else are you going to capture? But it just looked messy and noisy, you know, just sticks and leaf litter and leaves and bracken and brambles and bushes. And especially looking on the back of the screen here, I didn't think I was capturing anything in particular, and I was actually feeling a little bit deflated, if I'm honest with you. And then I remembered, you know, when you take a photo, you're not, for me, there has to be kind of some sort of anchor, some focal point, which is probably true of any photo really, but there needs to be something in there that draws the eye. So in this sort of like noisy, as I've said, chaotic kind of environment, the things to pick out then were things like, you know, points of light or shadows, or trying to find some kind of shapes or geometric. So I'm trying to find shapes within the chaos and pick them out. So like tree stumps, at the time I just took the photo, I didn't think it would work out quite as well as it did, but when I come home and I put it through Lightroom and just add a little bit of source to it, then actually I think it becomes quite an interesting shot. Not a hero shot as such, but actually quite something quite interesting. But then once I did that, I started realizing I need to pick out the details. And I know this because this is what I prefer to do when I go out anyway. I'm not really a landscape kind of guy. I don't mind taking those kind of photos, and sometimes I think they come out all right for me. But I do like to pick out the details, and especially in such a busy environment like a forest or a woodland, the details are definitely, for me, the things to focus on. So with this one, for instance, you know, the kind of the dappled light hitting the bare wood, you know, there's no bark on this tree either. Hitting the bare wood just really draws the eye into it, and because it's then a lighter colour, it really stands out amongst everything in the background and really draws and pulls your eye into it. So I think this was the turning point for me for the day, and from this moment on, my photos became a little bit more deliberate, and I think I got some better results. So as I start to look for details and features within the sort of like the noise, that's when I started to pick out things like the light shining behind or through some of the leaves, and then I started to get a bit of a flow. And there's a lot of generic images in here, but I think actually I ended up with some decent results. I've already shared a few on Instagram, and I think actually they look quite nice. I mean, for me to want to share them on Instagram, I must be happy with them. And I always kind of back myself that I'm going to get half a dozen photos when I go out, and I'm definitely certain I got half a dozen. So capturing the what's the word, fronds or frong, not thongs, definitely not thongs, but fronds of the leaves and the ferns or bracken. I think those are the more satisfying images for me. So you get like a shaft of light and you can pick out little bits of them, or you get light coming from behind them and then they get not silhouetted. They're not silhouette. They make everything else sort of like fade away, and there's some sort of silhouetting. The sort of backlighting around some of them make them look silhouetted, but they sort of acts like a bit of a rim light sometimes around the leaves. And these fern shots as well, it's only when I got back and looked at them later, a lot of them actually kind of reminded me a little bit of, like, you know, Jurassic Park or some kind of, you know, prehistoric landscape. And I suppose if there's nothing to date the photos, you know, like a building or a person or a vehicle or something in there, or any sort of structure, ferns haven't changed for millions of years. So it's very easy to see a shot like that, and actually, you know, you could quite easily picture a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something walking through the background. I don't know, but those sort of images then started to come out when I looked at them when I got home on my computer, because viewing them on the back of this screen is not ideal. And so you probably shouldn't judge what you've done in a day on the back of the screen. You may learn to recognize what's a good shot in a 2 or 3 inch screen for when you get back, but I personally try not to review too much while I'm out, and just trust my instincts that what I was looking at the time, what I was looking at, whether it be through a viewfinder or through the screen at the time, that I just have to satisfy myself that it was okay. Obviously you can't quite see if you've got it fully focused perhaps, but sometimes that doesn't matter if you're just capturing light and shade and stuff. So a couple of takeaways from the day. Firstly, number one, I definitely trust your instincts. Like I said, I feel like I'm always going to come home with half a dozen or so photos that I really like. Definitely don't trust what you're seeing on the back of the screen and judge everything on that, because by the time you come home and you put it on a larger monitor, then you know, you're probably going to see better results. And just remember at that point as well, even with something that's only 16 megapixels like this, you can still crop in and reframe if you need to afterwards. So yeah, don't just judge your day out based on what you've got here. And the final thing for me is probably something that I do lean towards every time I go out, is start looking at the details. Don't look at the big picture, look at the small picture, and that's then is definitely where I often get my results. So yeah, I don't know which one of the photos you've seen are your favorites. Maybe I'll put a little list at the end and you can tell me which one. I don't know whether that's the right thing to do or not, but yeah, which one of these shots was your favorite, and did you get the Jurassic Park vibes from a few of them as well? See you soon, and try and get this one out a bit more often.